Good.
It's in progress. Good morning, Spranheads.
Oh,
How is everybody doing this morning? How are
everyone
you?
here is doing okay. How's everyone doing over there?
Well, okay.
Just okay?
Yeah, my wife's
Not feeling the greatest, eh?
no. No, I'm
Um,
afraid not. That's okay. We're getting
mhm,
through it day by day.
mhm. We have our house is pretty much at the same level your house was when I went over on Friday.
For the
Jack and
tree?
I hung out on Friday. Some of the us and the heroes got together and we talked business and we got to hang out for a little bit. But yeah,
Pardon me.
I have a bare tree up right now. I just put it up yesterday, but we haven't decorated it yet.
Look
Some
for
of
the
our
bare
some of
necessity.
our I love this Tracy's got all this
Yeah.
like cranberry garland thing that she puts up.
Yeah, where'd she get that?
Oh, I don't know. She's had that for years, but
That's super
it
fun.
also goes with this really nice cranberry wreath above the fireplace.
I can't really
It's really
see
neat.
that. Got a little dark, but that's okay.
It's okay. Look, it's the basement tour.
Oh yeah, the basement tour.
Yeah,
Nice. That's a little Christmas cheer. It is
yeah, a
only
little.
it is only November, you know that.
Yeah, well,
Getting a little
some nice.
excited.
Yeah, I mean, we always wait. The rule in our household, and I don't think that it should be like that for every household, but for our household is
Yeah.
you wait till after Remembrance Day before you even think about Christmas.
Right.
It's to do with respect and all
Yep.
that stuff. So
Yep.
so yeah, we don't think about Christmas until after Remembrance Day,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
very shortly after Remembrance Day do we start thinking about it. So this year we figured it was better to do it this weekend because next weekend we're going away to Cornwall for a night to celebrate my mom's birthday and retirement, and then so we just in the next couple of weeks we don't have time, so this is the weekend for us. So
This is the weekend. Well,
yeah,
I had lofty plans that today would be decorating and starting things, but no, I'm not going to
no,
do it.
that's
No,
okay.
later
You have
this
half your
week.
stuff up.
I've just got the tree up. I didn't have a choice in that matter, by the way. I wouldn't have had the tree up. It was my parents, my 80-year-old parents that came over to the house and they said, "Oh, you got to get your tree up." Because their place is already done. They had it done
Right,
probably, you know, day after Remembrance Day, or I
the
don't know,
12th.
but it was all done. It was just
Yeah,
completely decorated.
yeah.
And I try to hang on until the month of December before doing too much.
I agree with
But
that too.
they came over and they were adamant, "You have to get your tree up, Jack. You got to get it up." And they I didn't have a choice. It was just okay. This is what's happening, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then so I remember. So my wife is she suffers from several conditions, and she's actually disabled, and
Mm.
so um, she sits comfortably in a chair, and my parents just sort of like, okay, oh, let's put the tree up, dear, and like move her aside. So I remember her going, oh, okay, I guess this is happening.
Yeah, she doesn't have much of a choice in
Doesn't
that
have a
matter. Yeah,
choice, and she's like, I'm sorry, babe, like I don't know what to do. Like my 80-year-old parent, like you can't
you can't say no
tell.
to them.
Well, you could. I just don't know if I have it in me to do it.
Yeah,
Like to say, oh, by the way, guys, we don't want the tree up right now at
right.
all, like
That's
zero.
funny.
Anyway, pardon me. Okay,
Well, welcome to
so
the Ugly Cough show.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna get ugly fast.
Good morning, Coffee.
Yeah, good morning, Gil.
Good morning, Gil.
Did you manage
Um,
to see the Ghostbusters this so far?
I
No,
did not see Ghostbusters.
yesterday. No.
I'm not going to get to go see it in the theaters. It's very few and far between the moments I get to go to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this weekend was family time, and I'm not going to be skipping out on that for a movie.
For
My
the
kids are so young that
Oh,
all
I
those
know.
moments are important right now, right? So like in 4 years from now, they're gonna be going to movies with their friends. So
Yeah, dude. No, I get it.
I'm being called.
You're
I
being
knew this was gonna happen
you're being summoned.
5 minutes into doing the show, and went, Daddy. I
Oh,
told them just to quietly come downstairs and ask me what it is. Like I can go like this, and they can quietly ask me what it is they want. But
right.
they're like, no, it's easier just to scream your name out to the top of my lungs. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh. Well, you can't.
So.
if you want to pause for a minute, we can do that, or if you want to.
Oh well, here comes a little one. So yeah, maybe let's do a quick pause here, and we'll
Okay,
just for a second.
we'll be right back.
So update. She just wanted to let me know her belly was full, and that she wasn't going to be eating the rest of the food on her plate.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't need to tell me that. She can
The
just
belly,
leave the food.
the belly was
Doesn't need
full.
to. Yeah, doesn't need to announce it. Hear ye, hear ye. My belly's full.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, dude, I'm having a real hard time waking up this morning. I have to
yeah,
admit,
it's a rough one.
I'm
I'm not sure why.
pretty. I don't know.
Well, let's start talking about the pod while we have some time.
Yeah,
here.
we better.
And,
Well, before I
I'd
fall
like
asleep, I better get some more of this coffee in me as well.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what you thought about the rest of the episodes of Wheel of Time. I'm sure most people will be having tuned in, so it'd be nice to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I was chatting a little bit about that last night with our friend Phil.
Has
Who
Phil tuned into all three?
he was halfway through the third, but he was fairly critical overall. He said the production value wasn't there, and I mean, he's comparing it to Game of Thrones, and I was trying to say to him, I said, look, like you can't expect to take a fantasy series right out of the gate and expect to get all the best people that are out there doing special effects, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to you have to, like, if there were some effects that you didn't really think were top of the pops, well,
if we're getting into it,
okay.
the first episode during the big fight, some of the effects did look a little cheese. Like when Moiraine saves Nynaeve and Egwene, and she uses the wisps of air to pretty much like eviscerate that one Trolloc. It looked like it was made on someone's home computer or with Legos or something. It didn't look very good.
Yeah, I mean, I must have had my John Lennon glasses on or something, or Ozzy glasses. I saw it not so negatively. I don't know. I thought the special effects were fine. I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't think that they were great. I think they were passable.
Yeah.
I think that they probably put more money into set locations because some of the mountainous
I love
terrain
the wide
and everything.
shots. Oh yeah, the shots were great.
That stuff is really beautiful.
Yeah, and the cast, I think the cast has got chemistry. I really do. Like I don't know. I'm digging it. I
like it too.
I fell for it.
I have some complaints. I'm not negative about the show. I think that being someone who has been reading the Wheel of Time since 1998 or whatever it is when I started reading it.
Wasn't that the dawn of time, 1998?
It was the dawn. The age of Aquarius
at the dawn of
1998. But yeah, I have some complaints only because I think that there's so much text to pull from that there's not really much need to create new text. I'm really not feeling the Perrin's wife choice. Not feeling it at all.
I understand spoke with Jason about that one, and
I understand why they did it. Like, I fully understand why. The reason is they've opted into this mystery of who is the Dragon Reborn. Which of these 5 characters?
Yes,
because they've made it so that the Dragon Reborn or the dragon could be reborn into a woman, which is fine.
So that fine mystery is not a part of the Wheel of Time book series?
It's less of a mystery. It's not really. When the book series starts, it's not really about who's the Dragon Reborn. It's why does the Dark One think one of these kids is the Dragon Reborn? And the series doesn't say that one of them is going to be, just that the dragon, the Dark One is looking for the dragon and thinks that one of these kids, there's a whole bunch of kids all over the world that were born the same year as these kids. So all kids of a certain age are being hunted because he fears the Dragon Reborn.
All kids of a certain age. Okay, so
not all of them, but
several, many, or
right, yeah. Like it could be anyone. It doesn't have to necessarily be anyone in the Two Rivers. It could be anyone, anywhere. And these particular kids are being hunted.
So the main sort of wizard gal, I don't remember her name.
Moiraine.
she really thinks it's one of these 5
Right.
or
But
4
she doesn't
people.
show up and say,
But does
one
she
of
have
you
that?
are the Dragon Reborn.
So
She
she
thinks,
doesn't do that in the novel series.
no, in the novel, she's like, the
Okay.
Dark One wants one of you and we need to protect you, but doesn't really reveal why at first. But so
Okay.
the big difference here is that the book series, even from the very get-go, focuses in on the character of Rand. So like
Right.
while Rand and his father go back home to their farmhouse,
Yeah.
we don't see what happens back at Emmons Field. We don't see what happens to all those other characters. We're focused in on Rand. So they had to create, well, what's Matt doing? What's Perrin doing? Because those characters are
Right.
not focused on until later on in the book. After
Okay.
they leave Emmons Field and they run away
Yeah.
together, that's when we start to really discover more about Matt and Perrin, these
Mm.
characters. But the focus is on Rand at the very beginning. So in order to be able to make it even more of a mystery, the show seems like it had to make everyone on equal footing. We're not going to give more screen time to our main character because we don't want him to be the main character. We want all 5 of them to
Right.
be equal main characters, like an ensemble, which makes sense.
I don't my biggest criticism with, because I haven't read the series, right? So I don't have any
So
frame of
just
reference
show
here.
criticism. Yeah.
I'm just showing up brand new. So my introduction to Wheel of Time is unfortunately the TV series.
I would say
But
fortunately.
it's I think it's unfortunate because obviously the book would be a more rich experience, right? So but I mean the character that has the wife, I forget his name as well.
Perrin.
Okay, so Perrin. So if Perrin, oh, Ashlyn Lee is here. Hello.
Oh, it's Ugly Mugs with Ashlyn Lee. Hi.
So this character Perrin, my biggest criticism of him having the wife, and of course resulting in, I guess, spoiler, or maybe I shouldn't do a spoiler.
No, this is a whole spoiler.
It's a spoiler thing.
This whole episode is spoiling.
Okay, so he ends up, in the heat of battle, killing her, and I've got 2 criticisms about it. One, the battle took place inside a small home. There were only a few characters to keep track of. Like his wife was fighting one of these creatures. He was fighting one. She puts her creature down. He puts his down, and then does another wild swing. Like there weren't very many targets to keep track of.
Right.
So it seems kind of silly that you would do this event and then result in murder. I know you were trying to justify it by he's got a temper thing, a rage thing, an uncontrollable aspect. I get that.
Yeah.
But I still think it's silly. And the other thing is that right off the bat, you meet this character and then you've got this horrible weight. You've got the bridge. Like this guy has a horrible event that's already happened to him where he's killed his own wife. Like, wow, that's crazy. Like,
yeah.
Like I just don't, I guess selfishly as a first-time viewer, I don't want to carry that weight either.
I read something online that said that it kind of explained how I feel about it perfectly, is that the road ahead is already so hard for Perrin that why did they have to make it that much harder? He's already got such a really hard road to walk.
Right.
All of them do, but Perrin in particular has a really tough one to walk. Why would they make it even that much harder for him to walk? I just don't understand. Other than that one little thing, though.
Yeah.
And it's not a little thing; it's a big thing. It's kind of like the basis of his character in this show. But other than that, I'm really enjoying the show. I think it's really well done.
I am too.
They've obviously had to let go of a lot of scenes. There's the scene that happens in are you all caught up?
Yeah, went right to the
end. Ashlyn, have you watched it all?
I have not. I've chosen to read the books for the very first time instead.
Oh, that's exactly what I should have done.
We're like dangerously walking 2 different types of spoilers right here with you being on. This is dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. I should have.
There's a series of scenes that happen when Matt and Rand are alone together on the run. And it takes place over chapters and chapters, and it takes place over many different villages. And they've condensed it into one in the show, which is smart. Because it's a lot of the same stuff that happens over and over again. So in this version, instead of it being like it happens in Four Kings, it happens in Whitebridge, it happens in here, it's literally going to happen in one city, which is interesting. So they've condensed it down to one episode as opposed to 4 chapters or whatever it is. So where are you in the reading then, Ashley?
I finished the first book last night.
Oh, okay, perfect then.
Oh, really?
Okay, so no spoilers for Wheel of Time. Yeah, the Eye of the World, I mean. So yeah, so in the book, they leave Shadal Argoth, the that dead empty city. Matt steals that dagger, and they are on the run. Matt and Rand are on the run. I think they're actually on the run with Tom Maryland. They meet Tom Maryland in Emmonsfield, not in the 3rd episode at the bar.
I don't know what you guys thought of the actor that played that Tom character.
I loved him.
I thought he was so good. I was like, wow. Like
Tom Maryland traditionally in the books is older looking. But I actually
even
really
older
like
than
yeah. But I like this guy. I really like this guy.
Yeah, me too. I don't know him. I don't think I've seen him in anything before, but yeah,
it's funny. In the books, Tom's dangerous side is almost a secret. You don't know how dangerous he is. He's a fun-living, colorful cloak-wearing bard.
Yeah.
And you don't really know that he's dangerous until key moments in the story, and you're like, wow, this guy's serious. But they've doubled down on this. This guy's serious from the get-go. Like, he walks up to that stage in that first episode with his boots, with this huge weight, and he picks up the loot like he's going to kill someone with it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
with his boots, well, it's because Shallan didn't get to his boots yet. That's why.
That's right. You're right.
That's why he has boots.
That's why he still has them. Yeah.
Watch out for redheads. They're after your boots, people. See, we knew there was a reason why to be wary of redheaded folks.
Characters.
Yeah, because it's because of those bloody. They want to steal your.
Well, Shallan steals your boots, and Rand al'Thor steals your heart. Ah.
Who's? Oh, Rand. Rand steals your heart. He's doing okay in the series. I really like who's the first wisdom? Like
Nynaeve.
So there's the wisdom,
awesome.
and then there's the gal that Rand's with who is going to be a wisdom. Right?
Yeah, the Egwene. Yeah, they're Nynaeve is the older one with the really long braid.
Yeah, her name is what?
Nynaeve.
Okay, that actress or that actor?
Really good, eh?
Wow.
Yeah, she's knocking it out of the park. She's the best part of the show. Yeah, I really like her. I like the choice they made with her. I'm into it. I'm really into it.
Yeah. I'm digging it. What's with that shadow stuff that was separating them in the city?
This is the thing, is that in the books they go into it a little longer. They explain what happened in that city.
Yeah.
That city is named Eridhall, but it's now known as Shardal Lagoth, which is shadow waiting. In one of the big Trolloc wars they had thousands of years or hundreds of years before, this city decided to wall itself up away from the fighting and stopped itself from having anything to do with the outside world. While the outside world was burning and at war, it stayed neutral. And then neutral in the sense that it didn't help anybody.
Right.
And the story in the book is that there's a character that comes to Eridhall and starts to whisper in people's ears, kind of like a worm tongue from Lord of the Rings.
Okay,
and starts to infect the people of the city, and then they end up turning on themselves.
Oh God.
And all that hate and vile trapped in the city ends up turning into this monster, this shadow monster that is the city now. Like, the city is this weird shadow monster.
That's
you just read the book, Ashlyn Lee. What's the monster in Shadow Lagoth called?
Oh, it's a freaking old man. Hang on, sorry, I binge listened to it in 2 days.
We totally put you on the spot there for that.
We did. This is if you're going to be joining us, you're going to be put on the spot.
Good thing I'm good at Googling things.
Oh, there we go. See,
the shadow
she's
I
producing the show right here.
I like that separation of the characters. I thought it was kind of cutesy.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe it seemed maybe a little contrived to split up the party.
Yeah.
But I went with it. I just went, yeah, okay.
Yeah. They all have their own roads to walk.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them to not be together. I mean, it happens much like that in the book, so I was satisfied with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So far, I'm gonna give it a B plus so far. Not amazing, but pretty good. I'm
B
enjoying it
plus.
so far. Yeah, B plus.
Oh, I don't know what kind of grade system to give it. I don't know. I'm really digging it. I'm in. Like there's plenty of series that I've tuned into that weren't super great. I remember this one. I think it was a British production. There was a show called Merlin, and and it had a lot of these kind of younger kind of characters,
I like that show.
different cast. The effects weren't great necessarily, but man, I just got into it. I just bought into the actors playing those roles, and I tuned in regularly. I was excited, and this show kind of reminds me of that. Although I find that with this show, there is that bigger production. It is there, and despite the criticisms of some of my friends, I just I'm in. I'm very. I think it's also the fact that I know that this story is going to be good, and when you have a good story, you have a lot to bank on, right? Like it's
right.
Like they might make decisions that you disagree with, or that they want to do some new things because it's a television show. They want to change a few things,
right,
just to surprise the audience a little bit, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. So far, I don't know.
It was definitely very interesting to see Brandon Sanderson's name at the beginning of the title credits as an executive producer. So that's a step in the right direction for us to get what we want as Sanderson fans, which is either a Mistborn series or a Stormlight series, or man. I mean, I would even take a Steelheart series. Give me a Steelheart series. That would be amazing. Steelheart is a series that he wrote, which is this anomaly appears in the sky, and then people are given superpowers, but when people have superpowers, they tend to be evil. And so like there are a whole bunch of evil people in the world who are superpowered, and the people who are trying to stop them are just regular humans.
Yeah.
It's called the Reckoner series, but Steelheart's the first book. I would watch I would watch the hell out of that show. It's kind of like The Boys a little bit.
We better be careful with our criticisms of the show, of the well, not that Brandon Mr. Sanderson's listening to us, but in terms of he's not. But
he's busy. He's busy blowing glass right now.
It could have been his idea. It could have been his idea to have Perrin have the wife.
No. And he I already read an article from him on Reddit, and it was not his idea.
It was not his idea. That was not his.
He told the showrunner, this is a mistake, and they said, well, we're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So
that's why bring him on as a consultant if you're not going to listen to this guy?
Well, I guess if you read the article, he was brought in to read the scripts and give any last minute ideas on the scripts. So the scripts were pretty much done by the time he was brought into the process. So
really?
Any little things that they could change that he thought was good, they would do. But any major things, like major plot points that they had worked out for characters, they weren't changing. So
that's too bad. They should have brought him into Ground Zero. That's what
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the episodes that we released this week. We kind of got on a little bit of a wheel of time tangent there. Sorry, everybody. We released the last time we've done an Ugly Mugs was a couple weeks ago, and we released last episode 15 and episode 16. Those episodes were, let me just take a look here in my thing. Episode 15 was Kaladin spends time with the Collins during a high storm, and then investigates an attempt on the king's life. So this is the not the Zeth attempt, but the cut rail attempt.
Right. And we just read about Moash's. Was it Moash's idea or suggestion?
Sigzil.
Sigzil's. It was Sigzil's. Yeah, that's right.
Sigzil's like maybe. Yeah, we just recorded an episode where Sigzil was like, well, maybe someone was able to sneak a rope in and then
Right.
let someone climb up this rope, cut the rail, and then climb down, and they just cut the rope, and the evidence was gone. And Kaladin's like, you know what? That's actually really astute.
That's a
Like, that
really-
probably could have been how it worked. So,
And then I was telling you how I thought maybe, well, if you can think of it, you can do it. So then Moash is, I don't know, he's not.
Cal has been wanting to talk to Moash. Where we are right now in the story is Cal's been wanting to talk to Moash about it, to ask him like, hey, you stayed later, you know, did you see or did you do anything? And he hasn't either had the guts to ask him yet,
Yeah.
or he's been kind of distracted. I mean, the guy is trying to run, you know, how many bridge crews and get everyone trained and protect the king from the assassin in white. He's kind of busy.
I just want to say, hey, Jeremy, to Jeremy who hopped on.
Hey, Jeremy.
So, how you doing? Up at it and early. What time? Only 8. What's 8:41
morning.
over here?
Morning.
How's it going, guys?
It's going all
going.
right. So so episodes, was it 15 and 16 we dropped?
Yeah, so 15 was that episode. 16 was this was the horse episode.
The horse?
Yeah. When Cal and the Bridge 4 learn to ride horses.
Right.
Shalon gets to know Tin, and Bridge 4
man.
gets horse riding lessons.
Yeah, that was delightful. What a Sanderson. Geez, you know, that's great.
Yeah. Cal's referring to the horses as monsters and creatures.
Monsters, these things that are, you know, like we would much prefer these slow hulking, these slow moving chulls to these whinnying monsters, these galloping freaks.
Yeah. So funny.
It's so good. I love it. Oh, that's
so
great.
the artists that we used for episode art for those 2 episodes were for the episode 15 we used Botanica XU's image of like 3 Alethi men in wearing different kinds of fashion, and I picked that one because Adeline is reading the men's fashion magazine in that in one of those chapters, so I thought it was kind of appropriate to have some Alethi fashion represented. So thanks to Botanica for letting us use that.
Do you think Adeline reads all the mags or just some of the mags?
Dude, he's like into Chatelaine, Canadian Living.
Living.
Yeah, he's
I don't think our viewers know about Canadian Living.
No, they don't know
magazine.
That. No,
That's
that
for
one,
sure.
Yeah.
I remember that from a kid, but
yeah,
that's
he reads all reference. He reads
good.
Vogue. He reads all of them. He's like, he's got a subscription.
I love it.
Yeah. So then episode 16, we want to thank Lamary and the Cosmere again for letting us use her art. Thank you very much, Mary, for letting us always use your stuff. You're amazing. But this was the picture of the Rhyshadiums. So it's like Adeline, Dalinar, and then Renarin, who's on a smaller sized horse. So it gives us a really good idea of how large the Rhyshadiums are.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice image as well. Yeah. So I don't really know.
With those criticisms of the Rhyshadiums, of the horses,
yeah,
that extend to the Rhyshadiums in terms of. I don't know, because I don't.
The Rhyshadium pick you, right? So you're not getting on a Rhyshadium unless it's chosen you to be its rider. So
right.
So you like Cal's never going to have a chance to complain about being on a Rhyshadium because he's probably never going to get on one unless one picks him.
Right. That would be cool.
Yeah. And he's got other ways to get around, right? Like he's not gonna, the horse thing is like mainly when they're on patrol, when they're going on patrol outside of the work camps, they're using horses,
right?
But he's not like, he's not defending the king or the whatever on a horseback. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, kind of goes against his power structure and what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was off for 2 weeks. This week and last week I was off for 2 weeks, and Jack and I did the impossible, which is we recorded 5 episodes in a 2-week period, about a week and a half, to be honest. Normally we record 1 episode per week, and we start early before releasing, so we have kind of a backlog. But we were running out of some of that backlog, and our main concern is to be able to do double release weeks at the very end of the season, so that this way we're doing a Sanderlanche type thing for part 5. So part 5 will be, I think it's 10 episodes long. It is 2 episodes per week for 5 weeks. So it'll be the whole, whichever month that it falls into, and then spilling over into the other month. But
well, I think you just paused. We may. Well, that was weird. It says it's still recording, but I'm not sure. I can.
Whoa,
hear...
did it shut down for you guys too?
Yeah, it just shut down.
Weird.
We might lose the footage. I have no. It says recording, so I'll only know it when I end the meeting if we captured this episode.
Yeah. So either there was 25 minutes of stuff we just talked about, and you did see it, or you didn't see it.
Or it was a very private episode between us and Ashlyn Lee and Jeremy.
Yeah, maybe what ended up happening is there were too many Wheel of Time spoilers in our previous conversation, and Zoom was like, no.
How dare you criticize our show?
So what I was saying was that Jack and I got to record 5 episodes in the span of a week and a half. Papino, a good friend of ours who we play D&D with on our Patreon game, he asked Poppy, no. He asked you how it felt to be able to cover so much material in such a short amount of time, because you're used to covering only 2 chapters a week. So I wanted to kind of give you the floor to be able to talk to the rest of the Discord fam and the Patreon fam, just to let, like, how did you feel about being able to read so much material in such a short amount of time?
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this with regards to our schedule. So recording 1 a week is fine. It's basically what works with our current, schedules.
Right. We have families, we have lives and stuff.
It's really hard. It's hard enough just to fit in doing an Ugly Mug. We're trying for once a week, but it's obviously we miss some weeks. And our apologies if I think we should just let the community know, like, if we're not doing one, we should probably just say we're not doing one this week.
I don't, the Ugly Mugs?
Yeah, like I don't know if you said that.
I didn't say anything last week. I normally do. Let it just everyone be on notice. I think this is going to turn into a bi-weekly thing now. Being able to cram it in every single weekend does not seem to work for us. I mean, we got busy lives, everything's crazy, and we're also trying to find time to record the actual show. If this show were to ever have enough listeners so that we could have some kind of advertising, and then we could actually make this our jobs, we would record everything you wanted us to. Anything that you wanted us to talk about. Talk about kitty litter. Oh, we'll talk about kitty litter for 3 hours. I don't give a crap.
I've got a lot of opinions on kitty litter. Let me.
I know you do. I know you do. That's why I brought it up.
My kitty cat is in big trouble.
But anyways, but the point being is that we right now are don't want to stretch ourselves too thin, that the actual show is hurt by us trying to do too much, right? So
I guess I would say, with regards to the recording a bunch of them, I much preferred that to doing it once a week. So my preference would be to record more often, because I don't know, it was nice to get more of the story read.
Right.
And I kind of felt like we're plotting further into it, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting excited here. This is good. Like, I'm learning more things about. I'm diving in. Right. Going at the pace of once a week is fine. It's just that it's slow, and maybe there's more time for reflection. So I don't know. I'm hoping that we're, as still astute in terms of our coverage of the chapters. I don't think we're missing any major beats, and you were bringing up the beats, like, for instance, the reference with the veil.
Yes.
So that's one thing that happened to me, is that I actually got a notification on my phone, and I pressed it, and it was
from Discord.
And
it was from one of the blocked channels, one of the channels that you were blocked from, but you got a notification anyways.
I got a notification. I clicked it, and it brought me right to it. And there was somebody on there, on the chat, that said, I'm really excited to see what Jack thinks of this new character Vale. And that's what I read. And I went, wait a sec, I don't know anything about Vale. And so I backed out, and I saw, of course, I was on the wrong channel. And so I backed out, and I read that, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to read anymore. So then Sean and I were actually reading that very chapter where Vale is introduced. And so I was speaking with Sean, I was speaking with a few other friends, and they were like, well, what are your guesses as to who Vale is? And of course, I had thought that Vale was a completely separate character, like physiologically.
Right.
So I
as
was
opposed to a new persona.
right. So I was like, well, I think Vale is going to be like the name suggests. I said something like, I think the character is going to be able to, disguise themselves. They might be the leader of a thieves guild, or it could be
One of the Ghost Bloods.
One of the Ghost Bloods, high-ranking member. Blah blah blah. So I said all these things, and then of course I read the chapter, part of that chapter, with my friends.
We were
live
after our D&D game this Wednesday.
Yeah.
The other guys were like, "Oh, we're really excited for you to read the rest of that chapter."
Right.
And I'm like, "Actually, Jack, you're probably only like a couple of paragraphs away from figuring out who Vale is. Why don't you go get your book and just live read for us?" So he live read for us for, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something, maybe 5-10 minutes. And then I got you to stop at the part when Shalon introduces herself as Vale.
I was so delighted. Oh, that was just such a great moment for me because I got to be completely surprised. So it was great because I totally thought that Vale was another. So whoever it was that on the show that, or on the Discord chat that said, I wonder what Jack's going to think of.
It's our new patron, Denver Rose is the
so
D Rose,
Denver Rose. So hi, Denver Rose. Very clever of you not to put it in such a way that suggested it was Shalon, because I just read it was this character Vale. Like I wonder what Jack's going to think of this character Vale, and that was good. It still kept the mystery for me, so that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It didn't ruin anything. I was really happy because that's a big moment in the book for sure.
Dude, that was so good. Oh, I loved it. And of course, you referenced it back to Carbranth when she arrived at the City of Bells, and we have the area of the library that's called the Vale.
Yeah.
Right. So it just, that was, and I didn't connect that.
Yeah.
Which again, I just, it's so good.
And we had talked about a little bit about in the actual episode proper. We talked a little bit about how when she enters that library and she commits herself to start fooling Yasna is when Vale really
was born.
Because she becomes
that's what
a
I was
thief.
saying was that I think
she goes from being a young lady who lives in an estate who likes drawing and scholarship to becoming someone who is duplicitous and who is going to try to fool someone else.
Yeah.
And she does that when she enters the Vale. So which is really, really neat.
Yeah.
It's a huge foreshadowing moment. It's one of my favorite little tidbits of the books.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'm pretty sure I said in the episode proper that I didn't even see the Vale in Carbranth until we started covering this novel. When you and I started reading it, that part, and we got to there, I was like, oh my God, the Vale. Holy crap, how have I not seen that before?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's super good. I truly delighted in that. And I really delighted. There's so many things we covered in the pod, but her saying thank God for the trousers.
Yeah.
And she hits down the
basement of a basement.
Like just little things that just,
the basement has a basement.
The basement has a basement. Like I just these are good t-shirts. Yeah. Brandon Mr. Sanderson should already be producing these t-shirts.
Yeah. The funny thing is, this is a tough, we've talked about this before. We're supposed to be talking about episode 15 and 16.
Oh yeah,
we're so far
removed.
We're so far removed from the recording of those episodes that it's hard not to talk about the ones we just recorded, right?
Okay, we can go back. Well, do we have any questions? Do we have any questions?
We do have a question. One of the questions that we were asked since the last time was, what's your favorite book to movie adaptation?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think
Werewolf Will did this one. I think
Werewolf Will. Okay. You know, I think maybe I don't know if I sent a response in the thing. You know, I think Lord of the Rings is hard to beat. At least in my opinion, in terms of adaptation. But I mean, I really we chatted about this. I really like the new Dune.
Yeah, it's really good.
I know that some people have a lot of criticisms about it, and I've heard a number of those criticisms, chiefly being the mystery of the assassin maybe not being used as well as it should have been. That came up in our D&D game.
The mystery of the saboteur.
The saboteur. That's it.
Right.
The saboteur. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I can appreciate those criticisms, but I think overall Denis Villeneuve is just a visionary, and I think that's what Dune needs. It needed to have another visionary behind the camera. Like I still like the original, the 80s Dune. I still like that one.
I love the David Lynch one. You know what? I think I've said this to you before. The reason why I like the David Lynch Dune is I've never seen a movie do inner monologue before.
Right.
And
so
when I saw Dune, I was like, in the early aughts, it was like 2002, I think might have been the first time I saw it. I had already been reading Wheel of Time, and I thought to myself, wow, if they ever do a Wheel of Time thing, they need to do what Lynch has done in this movie, which is show us Rand's inner monologue.
Right.
Because there's a lot going on inside the character's head that if you were to just act it out, you would never get. This struggle between what do I do? How do I do it? I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to so watching David Lynch's Dune, I'm like, wow, this is a really well done inner monologue. I don't think I've ever seen anyone have their thoughts portrayed on screen before like that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would list those two. I don't know. Honorable mention, I guess, for me, although I think the writer would, well, it does completely disagree, is I really like Kubrick's The Shining as an adaptation. The Shining is the only book that has actually terrified me. I did read it in high school, and I was very taken in by it. I didn't understand how a writer could turn a building into a thing, like an evil presence. And so I found that book experience to be I was also probably at a very formative age, I suppose, when I read it. So, but Kubrick's sort of stark, I don't know, man, like I really bought into it. The music of The Shining and everything. Some people I'll get excited. Oh, you got to watch The Shining. It's so good. And then it doesn't scare them. They kind of hate it. They think it's boring, you know, and I'm like, oh, I guess like, it's not for everyone, but
mine would be, I was really thinking more like fantasy or action sci-fi, but now that you mention The Shining, I think truthfully, the adaptation from book to film that has stuck with me the most is Stephen King's It. The miniseries, not the new one, the John Ritter miniseries.
The Tim Curry material.
Yeah, the Tim Curry Pennywise miniseries. I watched that at a younger age as well, 12 or 11 or whenever it came out when I was a kid. And that Pennywise still freaks me the fuck out, dude. Like
from that miniseries.
Right. From that miniseries. Wow. And I mean, I tried reading the book several times after that. And the show did such a good job of scaring me. I couldn't get through the book.
Really? Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I probably saw the show when I was 11 or 12, and then tried to read the book afterwards when I was like more in my teens, and I just couldn't get through it. One, it's a really large book, so it's hard to get through.
Right.
But also, I was thoroughly terrified by the show that, it was. I don't know. I would say Stephen King's It. It's a really great adaptation, I think.
Let's bring Jeremy and Ashlyn in on this. Let's see what they think.
Let's Jeremy, what's your this was your question, I think, eh?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was because Jeremy on here is Werewolf Will on Discord.
Okay. Gotcha.
Stick to one name, people.
I'm gonna change my name again.
I love it. It's like a superhero. It's perfect.
Yeah. So what's your favorite adaptation?
Yeah. What's on your list?
Well, I probably.
Oh, sorry, pal.
I'm losing you here.
Yeah, I just lost you a bit on the feed.
Oh, can't hear you again.
Yeah, sorry. I really, my alarm went off.
Oh, okay. Time to wake up, dude.
I really enjoyed Dune. I thought it was great.
The new one?
The new one.
Yeah, the new one. I haven't
Okay.
seen the old one yet.
Oh, okay.
And I've learned a lot about like the production of sci-fi from like the 80s onwards was basically inspired by Dune.
Right.
Star Wars was inspired by Dune.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Aliens.
it's like the
Alien,
grandfather of all that shit, man.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's a documentary on YouTube called Jodorowsky's Dune,
Yes,
which was
I
like
love
the
that.
original. It was
Mhm.
the original
Pre-Lynch.
idea.
Yeah,
Mhm. It's like a 14-hour movie, I
dude,
think.
he had Pink Floyd agree to do the soundtrack.
Mhm.
They had agreed to do it, and he never got
Wow.
into production.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
Yep.
crazy. That's
I mean, it would have been a massive undertaking. It probably wouldn't have come out until the 2000s, the way
Yeah.
that they were wanting to do it.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
filming like 5 Avatar movies in a row.
I think it was a
And that-
15-hour movie.
Yeah.
wow. I don't know anything about this. I would love it if you could share me that link.
Yeah.
I'll try to
it's-
remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a doc. It's really good.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
I never actually saw the whole thing. I just watched the trailer and learned a ton. So
Wow.
I would say Dune is one of the best so far.
Any honorable mentions?
I'm trying to think myself.
Anything that comes up to like a second place for you?
Well, I mean,
Not that-
certainly it provided the standard. I would say Dune provided the standard and inspiration for all of these things until, of course, in the 90s, where we had Starship Troopers, which would have taken the mantle as most pivotal science fiction effort. I think we all can learn a lot from that.
Paul Verhoeven
I know.
reinvented the wheel.
I changed. It changed me. It
Um,
affected me in ways unexpected.
Upon seeing the first glimpses of RoboCop 1, we will never be the same. Paul Verhoeven changed all. I'll buy that for $1.
Well, every time I go in the shower, I it's different. Thanks to
Okay,
Starship
whoa.
Troopers.
This is not kind of that kind of show, dude.
Yeah. Oh, it's not that
Different kind of show, no. Ashlyn Lee, what about you? Do you have any favorite adaptations?
So considering I haven't read either Dune or Lord of the Rings, I'd have to go with like my
Oh.
very first
Yeah.
foray into fantasy, which is Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yes.
and-
that's
but-
You know
that's
what?
acceptable
That's a
too.
very. I can't believe I didn't even think of it.
It's
Of
kind of
course.
evident, right? Like it's kind of
It's like the biggest one of the big. Well, since Lord of the Rings, it's
Yeah.
probably the biggest adaptation. That
What's
there's
your
ever been.
favorite? What's your favorite book to film adaptation of the series?
The second one, and my least
second one.
favorite is
Oh.
the last two, because
You know
Because
what?
of reasons.
I think Ashlyn and I might be having a meeting of the minds. Now, I want to make sure that I understand you correctly. You said that your favorite of the films
Of the book
Harry-
to film adaptation
of Harry Potter is Chamber of Secrets.
yep.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. So I have this opinion, which is not popular, not really shared whenever I share it. So my favorite two films of the series are the first two. I personally feel that the heart of Harry Potter is the kind of more, I guess, innocent Goonies like childlike appeal of it, as opposed to this dark, foreboding shadow that suppresses the characters immensely. Again, it's kind of like The Bridge. It's kind of like, the weight that the characters have to go like to fall under. And now I know that the counter argument is, well, the readership changed. You start out as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, and you go up to be a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, and that the danger level matures and you mature into the teen thing. And I get all that, but I just didn't enjoy the later movies quite as much. I mean, I love I thought Goblet of Fire was an exceptional movie. I loved the competition. But the competition gave it the levity again. Like I just didn't like the everything's awful and Harry just can't catch any breaks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I felt
I hear what you're saying. I respect both of your opinion, but you're wrong. Prisoner of
I've been
Azkaban.
told I'm in wrong, but again,
Prisoner of
I am never
Azkaban.
going to back down. I'm never going to back down.
Prisoner of
That
Azkaban is a
is
far
Harry
superior
Potter.
novel and far superior movie as well. You cannot convince me that
No, I disagree.
every single movie of Harry Potter, every single novel needs a time turner in it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Hermione should never be giving back that time turner. I don't know why she ever gave it back. In
Yeah.
D&D, you don't ever give back a magic item
A
that's given
magic
to you. You say you lost it and you keep it in your fucking pocket.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it. You don't ever fucking give that shit up. But learning about Sirius Black and Lupin and
Well,
Wormtail
yeah, but
and
that's not what I'm
James and
talking about.
Lily.
That's
No,
not
I know
what I'm talking
saying.
about.
But I'm saying
I'm not
if
talking
I
about
had to
that.
pick of the Harry Potter movies, a book to movie adaptations, even though the first two are more in line with how the books went. The first two books are smaller books, so it makes it easier to adapt.
Yes.
I'm going to say that even though the movie was more different than the book for Prisoner of Azkaban than the first two, I still think it's a superior movie and adaptation. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'll agree with you in terms of like the story of Prisoner of Azkaban is a bigger deal, and of course getting Gary Oldman in there was a big deal.
Yes.
More
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, but I know, but the problem is for me. But then I'll get into story criticism, which of course I personally feel they missed huge beats with the Order of the Phoenix. And anyways, I
agreed.
I'm not, so perhaps Ashlyn and I didn't quite have a meeting of the minds there, because but I think that those first two films, again, directed by Chris Columbus, I think Chris Columbus with John Williams' music, captured what the true essence and delight, the delight and enjoyment of Harry Potter are the chocolate frogs. It is choosing your wand. It isn't what the delight of Harry Potter is not the fact that Voldemort's going to kill you and that there's these Death Eaters and like all that's interesting, and it's good to have it. But I found the later films, it's just like it was all shadow, like it was just so heavy. It's like, oh my God, can these teenagers not just like,
I'll give you
do
points
other
too.
Teenager stuff? Like teenagers don't just feel all the brood. They also
first two
make out and like have, like they
lights out, make
have
out.
fun. They have fun. Like I just didn't see enough fun in the later films.
The first two films as well have Richard Harris as Dumbledore, which he was, and this is not any knock to the later Dumbledore actor, but Richard Harris as Dumbledore was perfect in those first two films, and it's unfortunate that he didn't get to see the whole series through. It would have been like having a different McGonagall after the first two movies. It just might not have worked as good.
Right.
So like I said, I think Michael Gambon did a passable job as Dumbledore, but Richard Harris
I love Michael
was fantastic. Any other honorable mentions that either one of the two you want to bring up for a book to film adaptation while we're talking about Wheel of Time? Will, do you have any Wheel of Time takes?
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you saw it. I haven't read the books. I actually started the first book and got a amount of the way through. And I know you were talking about Perrin. That entire thing with the wife surprised me, and I'm very intrigued now.
Yeah.
So I might have a different opinion from you guys about what's going on with that, but I'm all over it. I'm like, what's gonna happen? So
okay. Well, see, that's exciting. And your reaction to that is proof of why they included it.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's the proof, because there's someone who sees it and doesn't interpret it the way that perhaps Sean and I did. And you're seeing it as an opportunity for interesting drama to unfold, what that's going to mean for that character going forward. That's cool.
It's like what I said earlier about the books, is that the first half of the Wheel of Time really only concentrate on Rand, maybe Egwene, and Moiraine, really. Matt and Perrin are not really fleshed out characters until later. Stuff happens to them, and then they become more integral to the story. They are Taverns, so they are very important to the world. But like Perrin's apprehension to using an axe
Mm.
comes much later in the book. And so they probably want him to not want to use this weapon that he's good at because it reminds him of his wife in the show.
Yeah.
But in the books, there's something that happens later in the books where he uses an axe and he causes some death. Rightly so, I would think, because he's defending himself. But the ferocity in which he fights scares him. So there is this character is completely balanced between using the hammer of the blacksmith to create or the axe of the fighter to destroy, and there is this constant balance between these two sides of him, and so they probably wanted to introduce his fear of the axe in the very first episode, right? But the funny thing is that he's not walking around with one right now. So what was the point of making him afraid of the axe if he's not going to have one to use readily available? So I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
I haven't seen the third episode, but my argument is they aren't in society yet. I mean, they're just running.
Yeah.
So
right. Yep. So on a whole, are you enjoying it on a whole, like the show?
Yes, I am. I am really enjoying it. I'm glad that I get to enjoy the story, because the books didn't really click. But I was spoiled because I had just finished. I had just finished Way of Kings when I tried to start Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And it didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Not saying that it's not good. It just
it's fantastic. It's just the Wheel of Time is a slog. Even people who are the biggest fans of the series, I count myself as one of them. I have every novel in hardcover. I bought every single one in hardcover. My wife went and tracked down an original release of the of the Eye of the World for me. I'm a big fan, but it is a slog. The dude will describe a tapestry hanging in a room for paragraphs and paragraphs. Like, that might be a little bit hyperbolic on my point, but it is really hard to get through. Now, the benefit of that tapestry being described the way it is that you really feel like that room is real. Right? When you're reading it, you're like, fuck, this guy's been writing about the way this room looks for like three pages. But by the end of those 3 pages, you're like, wow, this room really does exist somewhere. So there's a trade-off, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas Brandon is like, just like, yeah, there's a room, there's a tapestry, let's get to the fun, And you can see a huge shift in the series when Brandon Sanderson takes over in the last 3 books. He's like, I've got a mission here. Let's get to it. And there's no fluff. There's none of that. The prose isn't as nicely written as when Jordan wrote it, but that has to do with the style of writing, and also because it's Jordan's world. He knows how he wants to write it. He knows he wants to write it with these sweeping, descriptions and all this stuff. Whereas Brandon's like, we've got a final battle to get to, folks. Like,
let's
you know what I mean? People are wearing shirts. Let's not worry about what color the shirts are. They're wearing shirts. Let's go.
That flies maybe a little bit in the face of Journey versus Destination, though, but that's okay.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, he was given. I mean, the journey had already happened. He was. His job was to make the destination.
Destination, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's a little tough. That's a good question. If we ever get to ask him, we should ask him about that. That's a really good comment. Journey versus Destination when it comes to the Wheel of Time. Really, I'm going to write that down on this tiny little piece of paper here, which I'll probably lose.
Better write that down.
Yeah, I better write it down.
It really is an interesting conversation, though, because I really enjoy it when storytellers take the time to come up with their own little bit of fiction that talks about the world.
Right.
Yes.
And the scene when I don't know the names. The scene with the story where they tell you about where the 2 rivers, the origins of the 2 rivers.
When Moiraine is explaining about Mentherin and how it was like the capital of this country, and like,
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, suddenly this world feels so much deeper, and there's lots of mystery.
Yeah. I love it.
And then immediately going right into the city, which has its own strange thing, and the whole concept of building a wall without a gate is so cool, because it's perfect for telling how, like, the sense of foreboding that they had.
Yeah, how isolationist they were.
So they had
I mean,
completely
yeah.
walled themselves off. Is that what happened?
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that crack in the wall that they came through, that was from an event, right?
Yeah, it
Like,
must have been. Yeah.
They,
okay. So
yeah,
they,
there were other explorers who blasted their way in later.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
And
really
the whole thing is that they walled themselves out from the world
dark.
while still having some poisonous being inside the city. You know,
Right.
this character, this worm tongue style person
Right.
got in the ear of the royalty and in the ear of the common people and started to poison the city. And then the city and its people tore itself apart. And from that grew this great evil that now exists in that city, which is really fucking
Pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
It
That
also
is pretty
shows us
cool.
that there's a moral. It also shows us there's a moral concept behind the storytelling that Robert Jordan is trying to tell,
Yeah.
Finally
and I
got the
think
name
it's
of that
going to show up
character.
in Parent.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's Shadar Lagoth.
Is the city?
Is this well, yeah. And then Mashadar is
Yeah,
the ship.
Mashadar is the smoky evil.
So
Mashadar.
it has a name.
Yeah, Mashadar is the evil, that evil black spreading stuff. That's
Yeah.
Mashadar.
That's Mashadar.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Well, I mean, speaking on like world building and stuff like that, I think Tolkien does get a lot of credit here too for inspiring a lot of writers, because I think it was his work on Lord of the Rings that really kind of set the standard for that kind of I mean, he was basically writing like hagiographies
Mhm.
for his work, and it just, I don't think it had been done prior to Tolkien in that way, where he had such a rich history to explain. And I think that for some people, I suppose Tolkien's writing for Lord of the Rings is very dry and it's a hard slog to get through.
Mhm.
But I think that what fascinates me most about fantasy writers is when you kind of do that work where you reference
Right.
something, in one or two pages, but really the explanation for that event is a whole other novel series, or a whole other, or a novella, I suppose, in order to explain the event. I just think that's really cool when the world is so that's what's really impressing me with this Stormlight
So the
archives.
original character who went into the city of Eridhol, which is now the city of Shadar Logoth, Shadows Waiting, is named Mordeth. Mordeth is a mysterious man who came to the city at some point during the war, which is one of the Trolloc Wars, and won the king's favor, becoming his most trusted counselor. Mordeth advised that the city would draw in on itself and that they had to become harder and become cruel and merciless as their own enemies. And so he eventually corrupted the entire city, and which is when it ate itself pretty much and became this thing called Mashadar. So the evil became this horrible thing.
That's super cool. There's a very interesting. It's a term that I think is relatively new for that kind of fantasy that you're talking about with the big maps and all of that stuff. I think it's called deep fantasy.
Is that you're speaking in reference to like Tolkien's work and stuff like
Yeah,
that? Yeah,
I
deep
would say
fantasy?
like
Yeah.
if that term is what I think it is,
Right.
then like Tolkien would be the first like true deep fantasy
Author.
deep fantasy author. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, is deep fantasy, would that be extended to authors like Robert Jordan and like Terry Goodkind, and also Brandon Mr. Sanderson, like in that they do these, big epic world building series to like expand and go into, like, basically I think that what Tolkien kind of did is, if you took, let's say, the Wheel of Time and all of its expansive history, Tolkien did it in one book. You know what I mean? Like and that's why maybe like the writing or the experience of the writing is a lot more like dense, and you're reading it more like a history text.
I think any author who wrote a book but also wrote tons and tons of extracurricular stuff
Yeah,
is a deep fantasy
that's
author.
a deep fantasy author.
So for instance, Tolkien would be the Silmarillion.
We can't hear you, Sean.
Oh, Sean's not working. Okay, so that's a cool term. I think maybe I've heard it once or twice before, but
Can you hear me now?
deep fantasy writers.
So I've always heard it as referred to as epic fantasy. That was always
epic
the
fantasy writers.
the term that I Tolkien, Jordan, J.R.R. Martin, all the great several book series fantasy authors are epic fantasy. Now, there's a difference between like Mercedes Lackey and some of these other fantasy authors. Even R.A. Salvatore, I don't think is necessarily considered epic fantasy, even though he's written 30 novels. The scope of the fantasy.
Salvatore, would that be considered deep, or is
he's written lots of novels, but I don't necessarily think that it's epic fantasy.
D&D series. Let's go to Dragonlance. Is Dragonlance a deep fantasy, or is it just?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's mythology attached to those books for sure, and there's stuff that happened before and after the novels. But but there's a difference between let's say like a Jordan novel or a Sanderson novel and like a Dragonlance novel or a R.A. Salvatore novel. Yeah. So
I wouldn't put like Star Wars in that. I wouldn't put Star Wars in that group because because at least for me, I was defining it as the original author did all of the extracurricular stuff. So, all of the extra books and stuff like that have been done from Star Wars or from fans.
Right.
Yeah,
it's all a collection of 30 different authors, right?
Yeah.
So would you count, I know we were talking about this book or series in the group chat a few weeks ago, but Aragon and the Inheritance Cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has done a couple of things on the side.
I really like those novels, by the way. I think they're fantastic.
Don't read them after you read Sanderson.
No, they're way lighter. They're way later.
Don't read them after Sanderson. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there's a very definitive D&D-ness to his novels. There's magic items that are important. There's quests that have to happen before battles can happen. In order to be able to beat this thing, you need to go and get this thing. It's very D&D. I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though it's like a young adult series. I still think it's really, really solid, like really, really good. Really well done with the dragon writing and all this stuff. It's really, really well done.
Did it have a good ending?
I think the books were pretty good. I mean, I read them a long time ago, so I don't really remember, but I don't think I remember being disappointed by them.
The ending's fine. It's not as much of a build up to the ending, so it's kind of random, it feels like. And I definitely have to go back and I forgot how it ended like 2 times, and I had to go back and reread the entire series just to figure out how it ended.
Oh, weird. Okay. I don't remember that then. I guess that's a long time ago that I read those. So
yeah, people have issues with the ending. I would consider it relatively satisfying, but Paolini's been promising a 5th book for years.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
He wrote those books when he was a teenager.
That's what I.
He
heard
wrote
too,
the first book when he was 15, and he wrote the 4th book when he was 25.
Oh, there you go.
It's very evident too. Just the style of his writing.
Yeah, I usually skip the first book when I go back and reread it because I know what happens and I don't want to torture myself.
Yeah.
There's this one word that I'm like, you use that SAT word.
One of the things, one of the things.
SAT word? What's that? I don't. What's
it's
SAT?
a standard test that you have to take.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said it was a word, and I didn't think you meant the test. Sorry.
He thought you were just spelling out SAT.
Yeah, I was like, what? What do you mean?
The SAT word.
He used the word bibliophile.
I'm not good at. I don't do acronyms. It's not.
We are running out of time here. We're closing on our last minute here.
Oh yes, last minute. We've got to go.
any closing thoughts, Jack?
No, just I really enjoyed it. I really love it when you guys come on. It's really great to have a chat with you guys. So just really appreciate you coming in and spending time with us. It's great.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to do this as a night one soon, so that more people can join, and we can maybe drink wine instead of coffee, or beer instead of coffee, and we'll get more people to join the conversation. So thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and listening. Hopefully we will check you next time.
Take care, everybody.